Hey guys, hopefully you are doing well. Harry here, and today we're gonna talk about basically comparing two stock and of course calculating the return. So basically we're gonna walk through all the previous historical data and we're gonna calculate those return in term of like 3 years, 5 years, like how much percentage of return that our portfolio can bring us, right? Well guys, let me show you something before we move on, right? So you can see in front of your screen, so we are comparing the multiple index over here, right? So let me take this off. We don't need this, right? Let's see the comparison between uh, uh, two indexes right over here. That's the S&P 500 and those are Dow Johnson Industrial Average. So specifically I would like to say like S&P 500 has top 500 companies, right? And when it's come to Dow Johnson Industrial Average, those are 30 top industrial companies, right? You can see over here it says Dow Johnson Industrial Average is a stock market index that track 30 large publicly owned companies trading on New York Stock Exchange and the Nasdaq, right? So basically it says it's track the 30 large companies, which means it is an indicator which indicate the performance of those 30 large companies. It is the average value of the return, right? So guys, let's start into the coding session, right? So guys, right now you are in front of my Jupyter notebook. So we're gonna import library. So I'm gonna import only essential library. I'm gonna import NumPy, SNP, and I'm gonna import let's say pandas data frame as PD. Then I'm gonna import matplot. If you're in a Jupyter notebook, you can just press tab and it's gonna automatically show matplotlib dot pyplot as plt. Then I'm gonna import let's say Y Finance, which is the finance API as YF. So I'm gonna import this and gonna run. Right guys, so let me take you back to the website first again, right? You can see on this website, which is basically by the Microsoft. I will provide this into the link below the description, right? You can see over here while comparing the two indexes over here, you can see there's a lot of things going on at the moment. You can see the y-axis that in a percentage will start from a 0, right? And those is your basically your time frame for time series analysis, right? You can see those values is changing all the time. It's going up and down. There's a lot of swings over here. Shows us that return is around 27% on the S&P 500, and for Dow Johnson Industrial Average 23%. When it's come to 5 year, is keep a return around 90 sorry, yeah, really 90%, right, on the index, and 60% on the Dow Johnson Industrial Average, right? So we're gonna draw this with the help of Python. Right guys, first thing first, right? So today we are following block coding. So on the first block of our coding, we have imported our library. On the second block, we're going to define a function. So def stand for defining the function. So we're going to define the function as stock. Then we're going to put the open and close parentheses, which followed by the column, right? So inside the open and close parentheses, we're going to define a ticker, so which is our parameter. So when we put the ticker, that will basically will be our symbol for your stock, right? Let's say MSFT. MSFT stand for the Microsoft, which is in our stock market, right? Similarly, if you go for TSLA, that stand for our Tesla. So you're gonna say return, and on return we're gonna follow by the YF is a short form of the Yahoo Finance over here, you can see. So I told you about the Yahoo Finance is an open API where you can collect all the data, right? So after YF, you'll just put a dot over here, then you can press a tab, right? On a tab, if you see download over here, that's your function side. So inside the download, you're gonna mention the ticker again, right? So basically it will send a request over there in your Y Finance API, right? So after that, let's say period, right? So period can be something like year, months, but we're gonna follow by the long-term holding. So that's gonna be 5 year, right? And I'm just gonna run this. So now this function is defined over here. The function name is stock, which basically take a parameter as a ticker, right? And this is connected to our Y Finance API, which is a download functions, right, in open and close parentheses, where ticker will be used over here just to download those specific data which we are looking for, right, which we are using for scanning the whole market, than the period, where the period will mention over here is a 5 year, so it will give us a 5-year historical data. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an object, let's say or variables, right? So our first variable will be Microsoft. So inside the Microsoft, we're going to say stog. So we're going to call the functions over here. So we're gonna follow the open and close parentheses. Then we're gonna define a string data type over here. That's gonna be our ticker, right? So after ticker, what we're gonna do is we're just gonna run this, right? So if in a new block, we're gonna call this Microsoft variable again, right? You can use just like print Microsoft. So it can give you the all the data over here, right? But I'm not going to use a print function over here. I'm just going to remove this, right? I'm going to say dot head, so it will give me the top 5 rows, and of course the columns over here, right? You can see it's followed by data, data followed by date, open, high, low, close, adjusted, close, and volume, right? So basically I'm not going to go through this. So if you say Microsoft dot tail, it will give it the last bottom rows over here, right? So what we are targeting over here is we're targeting over the close price. So we want this value, right? And of course we want this value, right? So this value gonna be our initial value, and this gonna be our final value. So guys, now we have to locate those values. For locating those values, I'm gonna declare 2 variables. One is the initial, right? Initial let's say Microsoft, and initial Microsoft will be followed by Microsoft, and we're gonna look through the close column side. Basically those are the close columns, so we're gonna call this value, right? So let's say close, right? And I'm gonna put the index over here, that will be 0. Let's say initial Microsoft. Now you can see over here 101.56, that is the call for the close, and 101.57, right? So basically it's round off, that's why it's saying 57 over here, right? So for that, another I'm gonna mention final Microsoft. So for that, I'm again gonna call the Microsoft, right? And of course gonna go through the close column. And after close column, I have to use the -1 index, guys. So you have to remember over here -1 index, right? So I'll give you some example, right? Just give me 2 seconds. So now you can see over here 376.20 and 376.20, right? So let's say we have a number over here, right? So I'm gonna zoom this up a bit. So we have a number over here, right? If I'm gonna use a for loop, let's say, sorry, list comprehension, but it's a for loop, x for x in range, right? So 1 to 10, right? So I'm just gonna call this, and I'm gonna print over here, let's say number. Now you can see over here there's a number over here, but if I have to index, right, I'm gonna say 0, that will return me 1. But if I say -1, that will return me 9 over here. If I say -2, that should return me 8. So that's how dynamic negative index work over here, right? So let's move on, right? So let's move on into the another, that's about calculating growth. For growth is really simple formula, right? So basically you're gonna minus the final value with initial value, then you're gonna divide by the initial value, and then gonna be 100%, right? So let's say growth, and let's say Microsoft Microsoft equal to I'm gonna use the open and close parentheses. Open and close parentheses doesn't need over here, but we're gonna use the open and close parentheses just to follow the BODMAS rule, right? So that will be defined by tuples data types, right? So I'm gonna say final Microsoft minus initial Microsoft, right? I'm gonna divide with the initial Microsoft into 100, right? So let's see how much will be the growth. So that's give us like a 270, right guys? So next we're gonna do is just to plot a graph. While plotting a graph is bit trickier as compared to coding, right? While plotting a graph, you need to have certain analogy, right, where which gonna be our x-axis, which gonna be our y-axis, and how to present those graph, right? So I'm just gonna use a simple matplot lib rules, right? So for that I have to mention 2 axes, which is about x and y axis, right? So first I'm gonna say x-axis, which is gonna be MSFT, x MSFT, right? And I'm gonna put the Microsoft index over here. So index will only give me those dates, right? So if I can print this, you can see all the date has been printed in our screen, right? So you can see over here, this is our x-axis, which is just a date, right? Now we have to go through this y-axis. So this one is a bit tricky. So for that, I'm gonna mention y msft, and with the YMSFT, we have to use some formula over here, right? So for that, I'm just gonna use a Microsoft close column first. If I go through the close column, and I'm gonna divide with the using the ilog with the first index, right? So let's say Microsoft, and of course the close column, then ilog, right? I'm gonna locate those index, right? And I'm gonna -1, right? I'm just gonna put this into open and close parentheses over here, right? Now I'm gonna just multiply by 100. So let's see what's this thing give me. So now our final value over here is 270, and there's also negative values over here, right? So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna follow the simple matplotlib rules, right? So plt.figure, I'm gonna decide the figure over here. You can just press a tab button into your keyboard if you're using a Jupyter notebook, and if you're in Windows, even in the Mac, it's work, because I also do coding in Mac. So if I say fig size, let's say like 10 by 4, that will be a small decent figure, and I will say plt plot, which stand for just a line plot, right? So x-axis, and that's gonna be my y-axis, and I'm gonna label. If you're using a multiple plot, you can just label, but I'm still gonna label because that's my rule, right? Microsoft, and I'm just gonna close this, right? I'm gonna define the x-axis, plt.x label, right? And it's gonna be my date, and let's say plt.y label is gonna be my let's say return percentage, right? And let's say plt dot title. Oops, sorry, I'm just doing growth, isn't it? Not return percentage. Let's say just growth, right? So, and I'm gonna do is title, let's say Microsoft growth in 5 year, right? And let's say plt dot show, right? So because we're not using any strategy over here, if you're using simple moving averages, exponential moving averages, or you are using any kind of other indicator, so you can just calculate those return, right? So we are just focusing into the growth, how the normal growth will look like, right? So this is how it's look like, right? So first thing first, right, I'm just gonna use grade because I love using the grade line. So this is the one of the rules of my visualization technique. So I'm just gonna use by true, mentioning the grid line should be true, and after that I'm gonna use ls, that stand for line style, that's gonna be dash dash, right? And followed by alpha. So alpha will be like how visible your line will be. I will put a half, I don't want that much darker. So, and I will say color, and color will be my, let's say gray, right? I don't want to put a blue at the moment, just put oops, sorry, the spelling mistake over here, grid. Right, now you can see over here there's a grid line over here, so that's beautiful, right? So what I forgot over here, percentage, right? You want to make your scale understandable, right? So growth percentage over here, right? The growth is since 2019 to 2024, right? That's nearly around 270, which was in our website is about 269, was not that much different, right? You can see over here that was literally 269, right? So now you can see over here, if I can just split this screen into two, half and half, right? So that's our coding sessions, right? And that is our plot from our website. So now you can see both are using the same kind of algorithm, right? So guys, it was really easy to create those growth chart, and if you can just like change the time frame over here, right, in the top one, right, just put over here like 3 years, right? I'm just gonna rerun this all the code. So that will be our graph look like in 3 years. You can see over here, right? So I'm just gonna change over here. I'm just gonna put into 3 years, right? So that's how the 3 years look like in our chart. The growth will be around 69%, right? And you can see in our Jupyter notebook over here is saying 69.63, right? So it's really good to compare those data, right? So you can see over here the plot, right? So I can't even zoom this, isn't it? Yeah, that's the one, that's the perfect, right? So this exactly looks same, guys. Hey guys, so hopefully you enjoyed watching this video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe my channel, right? And I will make on another video about how to project multiple ticker, basically about the multiple index or stock or the, forex, right, into a same plot to compare those growth, well, also a return is only for those people who is holding for the long term, right? So well, this video can also be a return if you are investing into a stock or a index market for a long term. So if you're using a specific indicator, let's say like simple moving averages, exponential moving averages, or any other kind of indicator, right? So probably I'm gonna make a video in future about how to calculate the return or the growth you will acquire in the long term, right? So guys, please like and subscribe my channel, and of course don't forget to press the bell icon. So I will see you in the next video, guys. So peace.